a written production of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated and is intended for the sole purpose of informing our Recreation Center members. Any duplication, copying, transmission, broadcast, or use, including electronic and social media, is strictly prohibited without the prior written consent from the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated. Thank you for watching.
Could we call the meeting to order? Will everyone please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning. Welcome to our member board exchange. I'm John Nowakowski, the president of the 2023 Board of Directors. Okay. This meeting is audio and video recorded by the RC management and staff. Please be advised that there is no recording of this meeting by any individual. Would like to ask everyone to take their cell phones out and put them into silent mode. We'll try to remember to remind you to turn them back on, because if you're like me, I realize by tomorrow morning that mine's off. Would like to introduce your current 1923 Board of Directors. Let's start at the far right. Go ahead.
You want me to introduce myself?
Yes, introduce yourself.
I'm Karen McAdam. Happy to see you all here this morning. Happy New Year.
Good morning, Kat Fimmel, and have a good year.
John Fast, Happy New Year.
Steve Collins, Vice President. I want to thank everybody for letting me be here today. And please stop back and get some cake and tell us. You got to please come in here, tell us what you don't like, tell us what you do like. That's the only way we will find out and do what you want. Thank you.
I'm up. Good morning. Happy New Year. It's wonderful to look at you all from this side.
I'm Alan Lemowski.
Dale Air, welcome.
Thank you and congratulations to the board members, our new board members. Look forward to working with all of you. As you noticed, we only have 8 people here. Director Wilson resigned effective December 31st, 2023. The board is working on appointing someone to complete her term, and that person, after the board makes their selection, will be installed at the January 26th board meeting. The management team, our general manager, Bill Cook.
Morning, everybody.
Director of Finance, Kevin McCurdy.
Good morning.
Buildings and Infrastructure, Mike Whiprud.
Hello. Good morning.
Director of Operations, Chris Herring.
Good morning, everybody.
Director of Golf and Grounds, Brian Dithu.
Good morning.
Director of Bowling, Mike Dearmeyer.
Good morning.
Communications and RCSC Managing Coordinator, Joelle Higgins.
Good morning.
Sun City Visitor Centers and Marketing Manager, Polly Corsino.
Good morning.
Our Corporate Executive Coordinator, Marcia Johnson.
Good morning.
And Teresa Serino, who's up in the back room, up in the top, doing the video and audio. And Alan, oh, we got Alan and Kara. Welcome. Thank you. Jolynn. Okay, we missed Jolynn.
Again.
Jolynn Higgins, Communications and Marketing Coordinator. I thought we had her. And another volunteer, Tracy, who is our timekeeper. Tracy, let's see, I got to find her name on the list.
Tracy's good, she said.
Tracy's good. Thank you, Tracy. The couple of comments that we've heard from members is that our general manager's item of business, his presentation of where we at, has been taking too much time off the start of the meeting. So we're going to postpone that towards the end when all the members have their say-so, so that again, this is the member exchange, and so we will save that part of the staff comments till after all the members have had their say. I'd like to give an update on the topics that has been previously discussed, and I've asked past President Lair and Director Lair today to help me go through this. A lot of these items were brought up at the, before we do that, can we have Polly give us an update on the ASU member survey first?
Of course. Good morning again. So the clock is ticking on the survey, on the community survey. It will go to any card holder and member, privileged card holder and member who has their email address on file with the Cardholder Services Department on Monday, January 16th. So look for it in your inbox. I have a few things to cover since this is the last time I'll really be able to update you in person on the survey. We have this email going out to your email boxes for a reason. It's so only members and privileged card holders can take the survey. We're not going to have a link to the survey. In fact, there is a spam email. There's spam email coming into me, we think due to a press release that went out asking how people can take the survey. Well, they're not going to be able to find the link. So please be assured that this survey will only be taken by members and privileged card holders of RCSC. The email address that it's coming from will say ASU/RCSC survey, and the subject line is your chance to shape the future of RC recreation. So this is your opportunity to provide your input regarding the future of recreation in this amazing community where you live, play, and contribute. So take the survey, please. You don't have to take it all at once. You can take it in increments if you want to. You can take up to 3 weeks to complete the survey. Whatever is submitted, the data will be used. We have paper copies for those who do not have an email address on file with us. We highly encourage that you take this online if you receive it online. If you take a paper copy, that's going to slow down the process because they have to tabulate that manually. So we encourage you to take it online rather than on paper. If you do need to take it on paper, it'll be available at the Bell Visitor Center and at Lakeview Corporate Office. You will need to provide your photo recreation ID card and check that out and sign for it if you do take a paper copy. So, yes, so again, it's starting next Monday, January 16th. You have through Monday, February 6th to take it. And we hope everybody who has an opinion on RCSC recreation for the future takes the time to do that for us. And the date that we will get results and a report for the survey will be dependent on how many surveys we receive back and how many paper copies they need to tabulate. So if you have any questions, you can email me, call the Visitor Center, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thanks very much.
Polly, can you repeat the dates of the survey, please?
Monday, January 16th through Monday, February 6th.
And the paper copies can be received or be gotten where?
We have 2 locations, the Visitor Center at Bell Center and the corporate office at Lakeview. And bring your photo ID card.
Yes. Director Lair?
I just, for a question, for information, how many people in the audience got an email from a Donna, from Donato?
Dinata.
Dinata. Just the one. Okay. Just, okay. Okay, so watch out. Things are, it could, you know, all right. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah. It's part of the spam. Sorry about that. It's part of the spam. We're getting emails from odd email addresses and odd names asking where they can take the survey like they are an RCSC member or card holder, and they're not. So the answer is, unless they're an RCSC card holder or member, they will not qualify to take the survey.
But I think the caution here is that there's somebody out there who's using the language, and there's a link in this email that they want you to fill out a survey. So
Yes.
it should say RCSC and ASU.
Yeah,
Anything else, ignore.
There's no link unless you get that email from the ASU/RCSC survey. Yeah. And if you want to call me, and my number, I'm at the Visitor Center, my number's on a lot of the flyers out there. If you want to call before you open anything, and I can guarantee that that is, in fact, the survey, you're welcome to do that.
Thank you. And so can we repeat that the actual process of the email will come from RCSC/ASU. If it's anybody else, don't open it.
Yes. The subject line is your chance to shape the future of RCSC recreation.
Thank you, Polly.
Thank you.
Would like to give you an update now on the previous topics from the last board meeting that we've done in all of last year. I'd ask that you hold your questions till after so we can complete the update portion first. And I hope you picked up the document at the back, and that has the list of the topics, and the list was attached to the email blast. Director Lair, would you please assist me at going through these, as these are a lot of holdovers from our last meeting. Dale, would you like to take the first item?
Sure. The Best Friends Dog Club, as we all know, presented a business plan, and it was placed on the PIF. Over the last month, there was a spot that was located. It's the old where Vintage Vehicles was before they got their space. And I believe they went through, they took a look at it, and to see if it would be workable for them. That space is actually smaller than the space they currently have, so they don't think it will work for them. So that's still open and in progress.
Thank you, Director Lair. The marquees, the City of Volunteers versus the original Sun City, again, where that's part of that ASU survey that we're starting next week. Hopefully, once we get the survey completed, we get some data, we can come back and make some intelligent decisions as which direction to go. Director Lair?
Oh, which one am I doing?
Golf.
Oh, that's just ongoing. I think, usually we have the management reports beforehand so we can kind of get a feel for what's going on. So maybe we'll get the answer to that if there's any changes.
The next one is still open in progress, would be evening board meetings. We tried to, as a board, schedule one for February and one for April in the exchanges. As of right now, this room is not available, and at some of those times, we're looking at other options. So hopefully, by next meeting, we'll have something more definite to say that we can have what other facility we can have a board meeting at and/or the exchange at. There are some. It also, since we have to videotape and record them, that means moving some equipment around because we don't have that equipment at those facilities. So we've got to work out the details. Hopefully by next meeting, in the final meeting in January, we'll be able to have some definite dates and locations for those meetings.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I believe that we did make a change on the April exchange. It's going to be at 3 p.m. here in the Sundial Auditorium. We're going to be looking for, we originally were going to do February and April. February is the problematic one. So we'll work that out, but right now, April is already scheduled.
There have been a request to make that as a later evening meeting than 3 o'clock. Again, we are working out the details to see if that's possible. As of right now, we're not sure. At least, let's put it this way, I'm not sure that we can do a full evening meeting based on facility availability. This room is not available at 7 o'clock on Thursdays, and this room is not available at 7 o'clock on Mondays. So it's nice to see we should have our regular board meeting here. With 550 people going to bowling here on Thursdays, I think that we'd have some difficulty convincing them not to show up, and we have a board meeting. So we're working on some details, and we will definitely have something back to you by our last meeting here in January. Dale, please. Director Lair.
We're talking about the center Sunday
Yes.
hours? Okay. There was a request at the last meeting to look at opportunities to expand certain outside sports, and in particular pickleball, to have Sunday hours before the 8 a.m. time so that they could get their play in before it gets too hot. I think the original motion from Elevant, whatever, was for all sports and activities, outside activities regardless. But I think
It was just Sunday hours.
Sunday hours for all sports and activities.
Yes.
I think this board would be wise to narrow that down to look at pickleball specifically and do a trial, so that we can make, at least fix that problem before we expand to other things. So we're going to be looking for a response on our survey regarding this, and I believe Chris Herring was going to do a cost analysis. Hopefully he didn't put a lot of time into it just yet. Maybe if we looked at pickleball, particularly at Marinette, to get those hours opened early.
Director Lair, Board, we also have a request outside of this meeting for pool hours for similar reasons. Okay. And so narrowing that scope may not be possible. We really will look at both those at the same time.
Okay, when do you expect to have that cost analysis done?
We'll have it done before we get into the summertime, because that's when we would need to make the change.
Okay.
The other two are bylaw changes of the chair and co-chair, calling them vice chair instead of a co-chair. That, again, is going to require a bylaw change. The same with the other item, that is the meeting change to call this a member board exchange, just a member exchange or just an exchange will require a bylaw revision. Those should be coming forth for our next meeting in January, because those are, this meeting is not the format that we can do an actual change of anything. This is the informational meeting from you to us. So those will come back at the end of this month as actual revisions to the bylaws. Outside vendor on the elections, Director Lair.
Oh, good. I did have a meeting with the election committee at the end of the month in December, and this was one of the main topics of conversation that came up. And the elections committee felt that the integrity of the elections was very good. They didn't feel the need for this. However, they felt that some of the questions regarding the integrity of the elections was due to a lack of information for the general public. So the plan moving forward in 2023 is to go through the procedures for the elections, tweak things. We did have one issue during the election cycle, and that was a policy regarding provisional ballots. Currently, we do not have a policy regarding that. So the Elections Committee wants to go through all the procedures, tweak them where they need to be tweaked, and develop a procedure for provisional ballots and move forward from there. They did not feel that, they felt strongly that having member input in the elections was important, and turning it to the outside for an issue that really wasn't an issue was not appropriate.
Do we have, I know the elections were done by an outside firm, or the counting was done by an outside firm. Do we have any idea on what the cost was, or can we get those numbers for, not necessarily today, but for our next meeting, so that we have aware of what the cost is?
Are you asking me?
For what? That would, Bill or Kevin?
President Okowski, yes, we can have that cost. It's minimal.
Okay. So we can just see the actual number cost. Those are all the items on that. So we're going to open up the floor for discussion.
The timer?
Yes. The timer, there was some discussion at the last meeting about the timer. I'm not sure that we were 100% accurate on what the members wanted for a timer. There was objection to, obviously, the bell. There was thoughts about having the timer there for the duration. Our timer doesn't work from 0 going up in time so that the speaker could see how long they're speaking. Our timer only works from 3 minutes down to 0. So if the membership would like to see us have something different, I'm going to ask for a show of hands to see which direction we can do it. Can we do a 0 up? I'm sure. Yes.
Can I just make a comment?
Yeah.
I think what we talked about was that we were going to bring the timer back so people, that they could get their point across in 3 minutes, and then you could gavel them if they went longer. It was kind of up to the chair. If they're repeating themselves, then they're done. But if they were bringing forth more information, that was going to be up to the chair to decide whether they could continue to speak.
Yeah, I remembered something different, so that's why I was going to ask for more of a consensus of the members to see how to go that way. Director Totten.
I don't remember that taking place.
No. This conversation took place at our informational meeting where we go over, you weren't at that meeting.
Okay, the informational meeting that takes place. Okay, then I tend to agree with President Nowakowski that leaving this, since this is a member exchange, belongs basically to the members. I think the members should have input on what they would like to see. And I also have a suggestion. I don't know if we have a drop-down screen from the ceiling, but a clock could be shown on that screen, and it could start, like you said, at 1 and go up. And that way, everyone would see if they're extending the bounds of reasonableness.
Excuse me, could each of you put that microphone closer to your mouth?
Sure, I'm sorry. Did you hear what I said?
I did, but I haven't heard really well.
Okay, sorry. Oh.
From the audience, let's do a straw poll. How many people like the idea of a 3-minute timer? How many people like the idea of a 0 to increase the time so that only the person can know how much, or the person speaking will know how much time they have? How many would? No, we have a 3-minute timer. It means you have 3 minutes, and then you're done. The other way, you just have you could see how long you're speaking. So the consensus seems to be that the members here are saying that they'd like to see just a 3-minute timer on your speaking at the podium. Okay. Great, thank you. Tracy, you have your marching orders. Looks like Director Fast just reminded me I missed an item on the golf, which was non-resident pass prices less than resident prices, and we're doing a 6-month adjustment to see how that happens, a 6-month monitor, and we will be making that decision. I believe that was started in November, so the 6 months will be up in March.
I thought it started in August.
No, I didn't think so. Okay. All right. The floor is yours.
Good morning. I'll test out the timer. When does it start? Okay. Hey, yeah. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and to meet the board. And so I'm Alan Lunn, and I'm here today representing the Vintage Vehicles of Sun City Car Club. And first of all, I would like to thank the board for your assistance in helping the club to continue to grow over the last several years and to provide Sun City with car enthusiasts with a place and a beautiful, beautiful facility. We're experiencing phenomenal growth down at the car club. As of last week, we were 643 active members and roughly 25 new members per month. I'm here today to follow up on the club's prior queries about the 2023 budget that we had presented. And we have not heard back from the board regarding which of the budget requests that we asked for have been approved or denied by the RCSC board. And we understand that the overall budget has been approved. And at this point, we just need clarification on which one of the requests that we had in have or have not been approved so we can move forward at the club. And we believe that there's been separate purchase requests have been received by the board regarding a heavy-duty vehicle board lift at the club. So it's a heavy-duty lift that we want to add down at the shop. And we appreciate those items that have been approved, and we just need clarification on those items which were in our 2023 budget, and they included HVAC in the main facilities and welding shop. It included a vehicle wash pad, a mezzanine extension internal to the building that allows more space, and then monitor station cabinets that we have when you come in to the facility are not sufficient, and we wanted a request for that, and a vehicle paint booth. And we understand that the HVAC, heating and ventilation and air conditioning, requires possibly additional quotes before its approval or denial. And I'm personally not knowledgeable as to where that is regarding the board here and the club itself. Regarding the additional items that I mentioned, the wash pad, mezzanine extension, monitor, control cabinets, and paint booth, we haven't had any feedback from the board saying we need more information before we can move forward. So I don't know if we can get some clarification regarding those specific items. Thank you.
Thank you.
President Newt.
Yes.
I just wanted to respond to that. The responses to all clubs regarding the budget requests will be going out this week.
Good morning, Tom McLean, member 100211 over on Timberline Drive. Congratulations. Welcome. Okay, I want to talk to you about some general philosophy about how I think this board can succeed now and in the future. You are servant leaders. You represent the membership. You are first among equals, but you are still servant leaders. Listen and lead. You are the board. Lead. Show vision. You are stewards of our property and our monies. They're not yours. Your oath is inconsistent. It needs to be to the membership, not the corporation. The way to fix that, get rid of Title 10, go Title 33, and you will get your staff under control. Quorum, 500. Okay? This ASU member survey, it's not needed. You already know what the membership wants. That's $70-some thousand, it's wasted. Get rid of it. Card holders, we're not card holders. We're members of this wonderful organization. You represent us. Take your oath to the membership. Fees. We shouldn't have fees to homes. We should have fees to members. Whether it's 200, 300, 400, but it only should be to the members. Then you really would know who's here. On voter integrity, paper ballots and absentee ballot all should be allowed. And the board and volunteer members should count it, not an outside company that's rife to corruption. That way the members would know if they, that day, when it's done, it can be counted, they would know, hey, here's who won. And that's pretty much, the reason I can say this with confidence, I represent a large organization here in Peoria, and I was elected to be their leader. I listen, I let them come up and talk to me. I do not try to have it my way or the highway. Too many of past board members have done that. And all that does is make the members angry. So again, listen and lead. You're the board. You represent the membership. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark Littow, 22422. I'm here to bring up the negative and unfair effect that the board's small group reservation policy 17 restrictions have on the current golf lottery system, particularly on Monday and Friday golf days. 6 men's golf groups currently have guaranteed pre-booking rights to the best tee times between 8 and 11 a.m. ahead of the lottery selection for 5 months in advance. Currently, one group alone has a block of 1.5 hours of consecutive tee times. Tee times in the lottery at 3 to 4 of the regulation golf courses are affected by 1 or 2 of these groups at each course. For example, on January 6th, 3 groups reserved a block of tee times from 8 to 11 at Riverview. While these small groups pay a fee for the privilege of playing as a group, they shouldn't have the right to monopolize the best tee times prior to the lottery drawing. Money shouldn't buy the best tee times. As these small groups grow unrestricted in size and number, the effect on the larger group of Sun City golfers using the lottery system will become even more dysfunctional unless the board puts some reasonable restrictions in place on these groups. The many unsuccessful lottery submissions result in only very early or 1:30 p.m. or later tee times available at regulation courses when using the 5-day advanced tee time booking system. Additionally, non-residents with annual golf passes currently are able to use the lottery system, despite current board policy stating that non-residents can't book tee times earlier than 5 days in advance. I'm requesting that the board consider all these possible remedies. An equitable amount of regular morning tee time should be reserved for use by golfers using the lottery system based on the percentage of lottery users versus small group members. The number of consecutive blocks of tee times available to the small groups should be limited to less than 1 hour. A small group, as defined by Board Policy 17, should not need 12 to 13 consecutive tee times. Limitations should be considered for both the size and the number of these groups allowed to play on all the regulation golf courses during prime morning tee times. The lottery should be more accountable and transparent. General results should be included in the monthly golf report, including successful and unsuccessful attempt numbers, possible guidance to improve the lottery user success rate, and a method of online user input. A review of the lottery operating software or system should also be done to ensure the program is working properly, in particular related to the course and time selection options and related results. The golf calendar should also be transparent and integrated into the lottery system and show all prior pre-booked unavailable tee times, not just the starting times of the groups as currently shown in the calendar. Thank you for your consideration. I have copies of my remarks if anybody would like.
Please. May I suggest that the members that are standing in line kind of sit in the front row so you don't have to stand there for an hour. There's plenty of open seating there.
Can I have one, please?
Thank you. We will.
Hello, I am David Clausen, and my number is 154961. This is only the second time that I've stood before this group. I am pleased. It's 2.5, nearly 3 years ago that my wife and I moved into Sun City, and we have enjoyed the community. We've enjoyed the people. One of the friendliest places we've ever lived. And I happen to be representing the tennis club this morning. I've been asked to be president. Sometimes, you know, well, anyway. I am serving, and I'm happy to serve, and I think that's what I do support the comments of one of the previous speakers about board members and corporate office serving the members, and that's, you know, I've been in corporate before, and it's never easy. You've got a job to do, and you can't please everybody, so I acknowledge that. Now, having said that, I just want to say one thing. I walked my dog this morning. Here again, re-emphasize the neat part of Sun City. There's a century plant, this beautiful plant on my neighbor's yard going around the corner. And up in that tree this morning were 9, I counted them, 9 African lovebirds. And they were tweeting prettily, and they're just so beautiful. And then there was one mockingbird sitting. He didn't say anything. And I think that's a great example. So we should cooperate. I'm all for cooperating. Our motto in the tennis club and all our emails is fun, friendship, and exercise. And I'd like to add respect in that. So with that, I would like to state our disappointment of having our tennis courts removed. I know that decision's been voted on, but I am hopeful that we can readdress the tennis courts at Lakeview that are being replaced with pickleball courts. I honestly, sincerely believe, even if I were not a tennis player, the sound of the pickleball, and I play pickleball too, and I have family that love it and friends that love it, and it's a great sport. But the sound of pickleball over that serene place, I think, is going to be a problem. I think there are alternatives, and we can also, there have been tennis courts that have painted pickleball lines, so you can use a tennis court for pickleball, and I would prefer that rather than to just eliminate it. It's 15 minutes drive for me to get to Bell Center from where I live. So that's one aspect for people. To have a tennis court at Mountain View, and I played there a couple of times, it's just not a great facility, but it's better than nothing down on the south side. And thank you very much for your time. I see my time is up.
Thank you.
Jim Ruff, 165084. I'm a little confused about the survey. If there's not a link to click on, what are you looking at, and how are you going to fill it out?
What I mean by link, there's not a public link that you go to click on to take the survey on our website, in Sunviews. There's not a public link. You will be privately emailed with the survey. Now, there may be a link within that email for the survey, but there's not a link where somebody can just say, I want to go take the survey, and click on a link and be able to take that survey.
Got it. So there will be a link, and you're going to do it online?
I don't know exactly. I will find that out this week, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the way you said it, I was like, if there's no link, how am I filling this out?
Well, there will actually be a cover letter. So I believe when you open the email, you're going to read a cover letter. So I don't know exactly how that's going to work, but it's not a public link that anyone can just click on and take the survey.
Got it. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Sherry Sargent, 122262, and I'm representing the Best Friends Dog Club of Sun City. Good to see some kind faces and new faces also. We really appreciate that RCSC was kind enough to offer our club an interim facility until a more permanent solution could be made. Unfortunately, while it is undercover, it's smaller than our current space, and even on an interim basis wouldn't provide relief from our current situation. In addition to our submitted business plan, we're in the process of finalizing a report detailing our facility needs. We're sensitive to the costs and issues in constructing a brick and mortar facility suitable to our needs, and are looking forward to working with RCSC in considering alternative types of buildings that could serve as our dog training and socialization facility. As we continue to grow, we currently have upwards of 215 members. Time is of the essence, particularly since we are still not able to provide social activities to our members in a place that will allow our canine partners. We're looking forward to continuing to work with RCSC board and management for recommendations and solutions. And again, I want to say, I and the club appreciate all the help and the interest and everything that has been given to us in the past, and hopefully will continue in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My name is Janet Curry, 155488, and I actually have been at this podium more than twice in the last couple of years. Congratulations to all of the board members. I think our future is in good hands and with the management, and so let's move forward. I am reading a letter from Patrick Gannon, member number 150056. He could not be here this morning. The following two motions are the motions I, meaning Pat Gannon, submitted to be voted on at the December 13th, 2021 annual membership meeting. I now request that one of the board members on the 2023 RCSC board bring the following two motions below to be voted on by the 2023 board. These are, as I said on December 13th, 2021, common sense motions to amend the RCSC bylaws. I look forward to speaking in support of these two motions during the members' comments section of the board meeting when these motions are introduced. Thank you. Motion number 1, amend bylaws, Article 9, Sections 2B and 2B1. Delete the language, petitions will not be, 1, circulated within or at RCS facilities. Add 2B, petitions regarding RCSC matters may be circulated within or at all RCSC facilities, properties, while not disrupting or interfering with RCSC member activities or blocking ingress or egress at any facility. Motion number 2, amend bylaws, Article 9, Section 1.1B2, A, B, C, and D. Strike the language received from the, and this is the way it would read, the Secretary of the Corporation shall provide written notice of receipt of petition as submitted. He deleted the words approval or disapproval. He has deleted if approved, official, and now starting word, official petition with control number for use by all circulators within 15 business days. Petition regulations, petition start and complete date. I have a copy for the president.
Thank you. It should go to the secretary. Yep. Yeah, secretary.
Good morning. I'm Dan Haberman, 15.
Yes, Alan?
Mr. President, Mr. President, as far as motion number 1 that Patrick Gannon stated, I think I indicated that I would be willing to carry that. Okay. Motion number 2, I have some problems with, but motion number 1, I think I said publicly that I was for that.
Okay, so well, do you want to take the lead on that?
I will.
Okay, thank you.
Then can I have his big? We good? Dan Haberman, 157153. I'm the current president of the Sun City Pickleball Club. I want to congratulate Director Totten and Fast on your election and Steve on your re-election. I'm just here this morning to kind of throw out a few reminders. You know, pickleball is one of the fastest growing sports in America. A few years ago, we had 300 members, less than 300. As of today, we have 1,150 members. When we had 300 members, we had 27 courts. Now we have 1,200 members, and we have 27 courts. So I think you can see that there's probably a little bit of a need for some more courts. And fortunately, my club and our board and our membership are just real excited to hear that there's a piece of real estate, and I do want to emphasize a piece of real estate available at the Lakeview to build some more courts. And in the past few months, myself and a committee, we've been working really closely with the board, with Director Cook, with Mike, to ensure that we get really good courts built at the Lakeview. And, you know, prior to this election, Vice President Collins, we've had some discussions that you're pretty much have assured me that that project is going to move forward. And I just want to encourage you to keep it moving. I'd like to make a couple of comments to the president of the tennis club. Mike and myself and our committee, we've gone to great lengths to make sure that the noise of the pickleball is not an issue. We're going to be putting up windscreens that create a sound barrier. I also want to add that the Mountain View courts are like a Cadillac compared to what the condition of the courts at the Lakeview are right now. So those courts at the Lakeview as tennis courts aren't even usable. So anyways, it's a good piece of real estate. to put new pickleball courts at. So I just hope that this new board will continue with that process. Thank you.
I just have a couple questions.
Sure.
Is there drawings for the tennis courts? Have they come back?
You mean the pickleball courts?
Or the pickleball, yes.
Mike, can you address that?
Certainly. They're in work. We have done some interim reviews with Dan, for instance, regarding lighting, but they're not complete yet, no.
Okay, because that was the whole thing. We've never seen a drawing yet. So that was one question. The other question is, like you guys come in here and tell us what you want, we also get some feedback from the residents. And one of the feedback I got just this week was, you guys only have mini tournaments or tournaments in the mornings. And they said, we would like to see some 4 to 6 at night. I don't know if this is possible. I don't know how the tournaments work. But is that something that maybe you could look at with your board to accommodate people who are working during the day?
Well, I believe we could do that. You put me on the spot here a little bit. Generally speaking, though, we're a retirement community, and I'm afraid if we move tournaments to the nighttime, we're going to have the opposite problem of people that are retired and don't want to do things in the evening. As Mike was saying, we're working on making sure that the Lakeview has really adequate lighting. So it would, yes, I guess it would be possible to have some tournaments in the nighttime.
See, it's tough when you get put on the spot, just like we do. Thank you.
Mr. President?
Thank you.
Mr. President?
Oh.
So just for clarification, I don't think, Steve, that we're actually talking about tournaments. We're talking about club events. So right now, club events, it used to be that they were not allowed to be put on the calendar after 1 p.m. And now supposedly it's 4 p.m. And I would encourage management, by the way, to review that, because when you've got a club with almost 1,200 members in it that are told that they're not allowed to make any arrangements for club events because supposedly there are non-club members that are just clamoring for court usage and that we would be displacing, I think we really do need to look at that. But I want to ask you, Mr. Hebeman, about another statement that you made and ask for clarification on that. With respect to noise, you said that wind screens will create a sound barrier. Could you elaborate on that, please?
Well, again, I'm going to defer to Mike because he's the one that's looked into these. Do you mind, Mike, talking about that?
We don't have the design yet, but we've asked for a sound attenuation product. I wouldn't call them wind screens. I'd call them something more substantial than that. But it's something that's known in the pickleball industry. I'm not a pickleball construction expert yet, but I'm learning a lot along the way. But that's the kind of product we're looking into. It hasn't been specified out yet, but it'll be there. That's the intent, to have sound attenuation material on the fence.
So they'd serve a dual purpose, Karen, Director Adams.
Well, no, I think it's important to understand that we're talking about two separate products. A windscreen does not provide sound barriers, but there are sound attenuating products. I think those need to be carefully evaluated and perhaps tested. I understand that you don't think that noise is an issue, but if you were to pay much attention to the multiple articles that are being written across the nation, the sound of pickleball is causing somewhat of a national crisis. There's hardly a community in the country that isn't dealing with the effects of people saying we want to play pickleball and the people who live around it saying, whoa, 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 we don't like this constant sound. So I would encourage us to make sure that we are very, very, very careful before we move ahead with the assumption that it's not going to be an issue.
May I make another comment, sir?
Absolutely.
Okay. We've talked about the sound issue at the Lakeview before, that people are kind of concerned about the pat, pat, pat of a pickleball, and yet the Lakeview courts are located just a block away from railroad tracks. They're located across the street from a hospital that has ambulances coming and going. So you've got trains, you've got train whistles, you've got traffic, you've got sirens, and we got the jets flying over.
If I can interject, I hate to do this, but I don't think we're here to discuss. Let's see what those products are. Let's get them looked at and see what their results are in lieu of throwing curveballs at everyone saying they can or can't work.
Fair enough. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Director Totten?
I have a question. Could someone clarify? I don't play pickleball. Are you saying that the pickleball courts are not available for any play after 4 p.m.?
No.
Club events.
Club events. Okay, thank you.
Hi, morning. My name is Tony Wilkie, 105642. I'm adding to the what the gentleman said about golf tee times. I just found out about it, and all I could find in any search was that the board can approve large groups to get tee times ahead of everybody else. Right now, everybody else gets 5 days, and we get bumped quite often. You get unsuccessful requests, and people I've asked can't tell me what a large group is. What do they pay to be given these privileged times? I've heard anywhere from $3 a person per month to $5 a person per month to $5 a person every time they put their name on, and then they get $3 back. I've heard the large group is 30 plus. I've heard a large group is 16 plus. So I'd be very interested to know exactly what those numbers are and why, since we all pay the same $496, should these large groups get special privilege of getting tee times way ahead? Can anybody answer some of the questions I have?
Brian, can we get your input?
Certainly. The small group bookings they're groups of 30 or more. They pay $2 per person for each day that they book. They have to have their rosters to us. They pay that fee 30 days in advance so that we can put it on the golf calendar, so those that are making tee time requests can book around them if they choose to.
So if I was willing to pay the $2, I could get a month ahead, just like those other people.
If you were part of a group of 30 or more.
Why does it have to be a group of 30?
Because when we, pre-pandemic, before we had the lottery system in place, those types of groups had a method of coming in and basically overloading the draw and getting their tee times. The lottery system, as it's situated, has a very difficult time handling groups of a large size of 30 or more. So if we didn't have something in place for them, we would have the opposite issues with people coming in asking why I used to play with a group of 30 or more, and now I can no longer get a tee time. So,
well, the issue is that the smaller groups or the individuals can't even get tee times during the prime hours. And then when they try to get them after an unsuccessful attempt, and they get online, after booking 2 sets of tee times, the computer says, sorry, you booked 2, you can't have any more. On top of that, if you try and change your request after it's been entered in, it comes up with a question that says, please put down the team captain for each group. And I look everywhere on the sheet for where to put that little check mark, and there's no such thing.
If you have specific questions, you want to come to my office, I can certainly help you through that. But as far as the small group bookings, it's obvious as
Why do you call it the small group bookings when it's 30 plus?
Because a large group in the golf world would certainly be more than 100 players. So it's just a It's not a tournament, it's a small group of people.
Okay, well, as far as I'm concerned, it's really unfair to the individuals.
But can you give me one more second? Sure. You're not the only person that's made this request, as we've seen this morning, and we are looking into ways that we can massage the current system to make it more fair for everyone. So it is on our radar.
Thank you.
Whoops. Jeff Lair, 45572. The first thing I'd like to say is I'm looking forward to the Mountain View project moving forward. I get tired of sitting in seats, folding chairs. Even this fat butt gets sore sitting in a folding chair. So I'm looking forward to this Mountain View proceeding moving forward. I noticed right away when I came in that we were short not only a board member, but we're also short a parliamentarian. I see that Ray is missing here too. Are we not going to follow Robert's rules anymore, or is Ray just missing this meeting, or?
This is not an official business meeting. This is our exchange.
Okay.
And previously, we have not had a parliamentarian at the exchange,
Okay.
since it's not really a meeting where we as a board can make decisions.
Okay.
Our Ray Chernecki has declined to come forth from this point on, as far as I understand.
And why is that?
You have to ask her.
Oh, I would love to get her here and have her explain why she doesn't want to come here anymore.
That's between her and you, and not, as far as we understand, she has not, she has decided that she is not coming back. So I don't think that as a group, the board has made a decision on whether or not we will have a parliamentarian there. I have some personal thoughts on the idea, and I'm more than willing to spill them out. If as a board we need a parliamentarian here to function and get business done, then we're here for the wrong purpose. We need to do what we need to do, how we need to do it, without having to use parliamentary procedure in order to get it done.
Okay, now we're short a board member.
Yes.
And what is the procedure that you're following to fill that position? Myself, I would think common sense would be we just had an election, for the 3 seats. You just take the fourth, the fourth vote getter and just say, hey, would you like the job? Have you done that?
Since that is an item of personnel and executive session material to go through that process, our bylaws are pretty specific on what our process is. If there is a resignation between the 1st of January and the 31st of January, the Board of Directors, by a vote, chooses the replacement. That's what our bylaws state. We may disagree with them, but that's what they state. Now, it'd be up to the board to decide what other process or what other interviews or whatever else they'd like to do.
So the 8 members up here are sitting together and
yes,
collectively they are interviewing.
Yes.
Have you made any phone calls to any prospective members?
As a item of executive privilege, I'm not willing to share that or say that, okay? Because otherwise I might have to shoot you,
Well, I'll tell you, I occasionally am a fly on the wall to conversations, and it's like, so I know things that a lot of people sitting out here don't know.
There's a lot of things that are prepositions, suppositions, and everything else. Again, I'm not willing to take the possibility of the members going after me for turning around and saying something of executive privilege that should not be said outside of executive privilege.
Okay.
However, I also can't prevent other people in the audience for having their discussions for whatever they'd like to discuss. That's not my job. That's not our job. If people want to have conversations concerning that and make suppositions and do whatever they want to do, great. They're allowed to do that. As a board, we have a set procedure within our bylaws, and I unfortunately feel that we should follow those bylaws.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I'd like to go back a step if we could, since we just talked about procedures. You said something about parliamentary procedure. I just want to be clear, you don't have to have a parliamentarian present in order to apply Robert's Rules of Order and to follow parliamentary procedure. You can follow parliamentary procedure without a parliamentarian.
Thank you.
Okay. First time speaker. Michael Cap with a K, 122085. First of all, I want to thank the whole board for volunteering their time. This is not a thankful job, so I do appreciate it. So thank you for that, and thank you for having this member forum. I apologize for repeating some of the things that have been said, but I'm going to stick to my script. It'll be very short. I joined the pickleball club in 2016 when there were about 340 members, and they did boast about how they're the largest club. Since then, over the past 6 years, the club has grown 20% per year, bringing the total to about 1,100 to 1,150, as I just learned, members. Yet the number of pickleball courts are the same, as Dan alluded to, at 27. I know there's been discussions to convert some tennis courts at Lakeview to pickleball courts. Converting these courts would help resolve the problem for more pickleball courts to help accommodate the growing popularity of the sport. And in my opinion, the most important thing is we're taking an under to non-utilized asset and converting it to a very well-utilized asset. As a landlocked community, we do not have excess space, and so having this available is sort of a godsend. So I really encourage this board to take action. I think we've had enough discussion. I understand as of today that we got this noise issue that's being worked on. Let's work on it. Let's get the designs. Let's get the soundproofing thing. Let's not take another 3 years to make something happen that everyone knows needs to happen. So I thank you for your time and for listening to me.
Thank you.
And since I'm getting so much applause, I'm going to take a little bit more time. Unrelated to pickleball, and this has nothing to do with me personally, but I would like the board to consider opening Sundial Pool to guests below the age of 14 in December and January for a 3-hour period. Lots of people have children, grandchildren, whatever it'll be, who visit during the holiday season. I think we could find 3 hours that are underutilized at the Sundial Pool and make that available so when it's 45 to 60 degrees out, people are not forced to swim outside with their grandchildren. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, thank you, welcome. My name is Vicki Miller, 104197. And mine's a little bit on the lighter side, but I have something else I need to bring up. But number one, I'd like to bring up the parking lot at the Bell Rec Center, the lack of distinguishable lines for parking, and I'm speaking down more at the lawn bowling end of the park. And I put in, at least 3 years ago, this was before COVID, where you put in the comment box. I said, oh yeah, you'll hear back from somebody. I put in there at least 4 times, 3-4 times, and nothing, I've ever got a response back from anybody. Number one, you go in those court lines, especially in the first couple rows next to the lawn bowling, you cannot tell where to park in there. And it's obvious when you see how these cars are parked in there. And the other one too at that end too is the golf cart parking. It's great, but when you have a big truck come in and take up 2 of the golf cart spots, not so fun. So it would be nice if, and I've seen these before in other places where it has golf cart only, even though it should be obvious by the size of the space, but it isn't. You got the metal shop and the wood shop, and some of those people, you know, drive rather large rigs. Not to say tennis people don't, okay, but we need golf cart only signs there so we can have the space that we have, okay? And now I am speaking on the behalf of the tennis club, people using the tennis courts, and you know, just this last issue, I wasn't going to speak on that, but dadgummit, they say that the tennis courts at Lakeview are unutilized. Have you guys ever been down there and looked at those courts? Honestly, for the last 3 years, I think they took the sign down finally because this was brought up last year. I brought it up once myself. A sign on, there's 4 courts. One of those signs says, under renovation. For 3 years, it had been under renovation. Those courts have not been usable for tennis people or anybody else. So for pickleball to come up here and say, hey, they're not utilized, so why can't we have them? Whoa. Okay, so please look at that. Now, on that note, I agree. Pickleball has way more players than the tennis people, and I understand that, I get that. And that's gonna lead me to my next, what I'm really here for. I don't know if this is true or not, so I wanted somebody to speak to it, but through the grapevine, it was mentioned somewhere up here that not allow beverages, food, whatever, on the courts. Okay, I don't know where that came from, but I can tell you in my 14 years of playing on our tennis courts here, and I'm the captain of the 4-0 women's team right now, I can tell you the only time that there's any kind of food, bananas, apple bites, or whatever, when we're in a match, and you need to stop and you need to get a bite of something to eat, and I think pickleball probably does that too, but they have an area where they can go to. Okay, so we have our benches that we sit at in between games. No big deal. And if somebody needs to get a bite of sugar because of whatever, diabetes, medical issue, or just getting their blood glucose back to normal where it should be, or having a Gatorade that has electrolytes in it, that should be allowed. So again, I don't know if that's even been an issue, but if it is, I really hope you guys think about it. I mean, right up here, you guys each have water. Okay, we need it here. And outside when we're doing our business out there, we need to have the electrolytes in us. Okay, so again, not a big deal, but I hope that that is, you know, taken into consideration. The other thing is our tennis courts. We have an award-winning facility now, okay? It has never been taken care of. It has never been resurfaced. We need to have it resurfaced. Now, if we don't want these courts to turn into Lakeview, please, keep what we have. We have pride in what we have here and what we're using. We love it here. Please don't let those courts go to the shambles like Lakeview has.
When was the last time?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can we hang on, Bill? Chris?
Mr. President, Board, just to address some of the concerns that Vicki brought up, we do have the Bell tennis courts on the budget to resurface this year, so that is projected to be done, as well as the Bell parking lot to resurface and restripe the parking lot. We've started that process now in selecting vendors with the work plan for the summertime when that usage of that lot is slower, the impact is less.
Director Collins?
Yes, Chris, just one quick question. The Bell parking lot, I've seen that. How did it ever get restriped without covering the old markings? I mean, a contractor did that?
Director Collins' board, I can't speak to how we got to where we're at today, but I can speak to the fact that we will get it corrected.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill Pearson, 133438. I'm going to blow through a bunch of things quickly. I don't necessarily need a response, just want to make sure it's on the table as we move forward. Communication Committee, I would love to see you bring it back. I like the in focus, but it's only a piece. Pieces fit together in a puzzle. Puzzles create perfect pictures. For example, I stopped and picked up a packet, a new resident packet. We sell 2,000 homes here a year. We take in roughly $5,000, four and change, $490, $480 and change. Included in the packet was a 36-page mimeograph copy of the bylaws, a mimeograph copy of welcome pack piece that was at best poorly done. The good piece was the Shoah document, the booklet that was in there, and then a bunch of individual cards. When somebody moves to Sun City, the best thing we can do is welcome them and tell them just how great we are. Shameless self-promotion is a wonderful thing. We just don't do a very good job of it. Delighted to hear the golfers step up. I know they're frustrated. I have several friends that can't get tee times because of the small group bookings. You can defend it till you're blue in the face. It's wrong. Outsiders should never, ever, ever get tee times ahead of members. Sorry. When I was on the board, we had 6 golfers, and they'd have killed you if you'd have done what you're doing today. And I'm not trying to be unkind. That's me being nice. Pickleball, Karen said it 2 years ago, and I'm going to say it again to you. On a per capita basis, with the number of residents we have, this community should have 50 pickleball courts. We have 20. We have 7 at Mountain View. We need to double it or better. So somebody just said, where are you going to put it? Let me tell you what they did in Sun City West. Space Allocation Committee. They went to the community and said, what do you think? What should we do? Let's look forward over the next 5 or 10 years. We never do that. We just never do that. And so ideally, as you move forward, you turn inward, not outward, to ASU. God love them. I'm going to fill out the survey, and my last plug is going to be fill out the survey. Everybody in this room, fill out the survey. Tell people exactly what you think you need. That's how Sun City was built. Meeker surveyed the membership of this community time and time again during the building process. They wanted to know what the members wanted, because for you to be successful, while I don't agree with everything Tom says, learn to listen. You'll be well served. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Thank you. Yes.
Susan Bjork, 112.
Oh, hang on.
Oh, sorry.
We got a comment from Director McAdam.
Yeah, so I'd like to just respond to Bill about that. There is one a senior community in the United States that is larger than Sun City. The Villages in Florida is almost exactly twice our size, both in terms of number of residents and number of rooftops. They have over 220 pickleball courts.
Hello again. Welcome, new board members. Welcome back, old board members. I'm here because comments were taken away at the board meetings. I would have brought this up then, but and I don't have an issue. It's not going to affect me one bit, but we talk about the budget and needing to increase the budget by increasing the PIF for the $40 million project, increasing the membership dues to $525, but and I'm going to talk a little bit about that, because what was brought up is the minimum wage increase and needing to increase everybody, and I want to understand that a little bit more. But what I don't hear is a lot of, what are we doing to cut spending? Because everybody in this room is dealing with inflation, and what they're doing is cutting costs because they don't have the means to have an increase. And from what I understand, I'm obviously not old enough for Social Security, but from what I understand, these Social Security increases are going towards the Medicare increased costs. So they don't have the means to do what needs to be done up here, cut costs. You know, or that's not what I'm hearing. They're cutting costs. What are we doing to cut costs? I'd just like to hear some of that in our presentations. So when it was brought up that, you know, we need to increase the 525, it was brought up that the minimum wage needs to be raised for everybody. Steve, you brought up a good point that not everybody should be raised. And my concern is you're talking about base wage only. Are you looking at total rewards? Are you bringing in proper salary surveys to do this analysis, or are you just pinpointing and calling certain companies? And if you are, you know, certain facilities like Sun City West and all the other associations, the reason I'm asking that is because if you don't call enough, you can get yourself into a litigation issue because you could be considered price setting. So if you're only going to a few, you probably want to look at more. And again, we don't know what the total rewards package is. So Sun City West may not have as good of benefits as we have. I don't know. I'm raising an issue because I don't hear that part of the conversation. So all I'm hearing is we have to increase wages. The other piece of the puzzle is performance management. I know a lot of people that work for Sun City, and there is talk about difference in performance and not being dealt with. So I'm not really sure if you have a performance management process, but that comes into play too. There's a lot that impacts individual income. So you can't just carte blanche raise everybody. The other thing that I want to just quickly say, and yeah, you can talk about time, but everybody else had other time, so I'm gonna continue. There's inconsistency in the way that rules are applied that I've seen, and some people are concerned about ethics. So have we considered putting in an oversight and ethics committee to make sure that bylaws are being followed consistently, that we're applying things appropriately for each and every person? That's what I'd like to see. One of the things that I had asked last time was about incident reports and how you deal with different incident reports and how hearings can happen. They have to have 3 incident reports. And one of the things that was raised is that, well, if it's serious enough, we can just call a hearing. And then I asked about a definition for serious, and they said, yes, one does exist. I haven't been able to find that. So where's the consistent application? And I'd really like you to consider that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Can I comment?
Director Blair?
Okay. You asked a lot of really good questions, and I'd like to just start out right with the top. You know, you want to know, what we're doing as an organization to save money.
Right.
That has been my goal right from the get-go. And in order to do that, you need to have a basic understanding of how this organization runs. We have to have the tools in place. This board needs the tools in place to make educated, factual decisions, which I feel we did not have a lot of good information prior. So things such as capacity and utilization.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
You can hear everybody
Absolutely.
comes up here and they talk about, I want this and I want that. Every time somebody comes up and says, take care of this, that's cha-ching, 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 right down the line.
Correct.
And when you're sitting on this board, you have to look at everybody's needs and wants, not just one group that's got 1,000 members or one group that's got 400 members. Everybody's important. But how you allocate that money is critical. So there are pieces in place. And are they perfect? The long-range planning has done a lot. When you talk about space allocation and looking 5, 10 years down the road, that is the job of the Long Range Planning Committee. They have done an exceptional job of looking at what the trends are going to be 5 to 10 years down the road, where we need to shift our focus. What we have here is we have a lot of people who, you know, it's hard to sell something to a future that we're gaining, looking towards the future, when people sitting here want to keep doing the same thing that they've always done and maybe aren't embracing the new things. That's a challenge for this committee.
Correct.
So when you talk about what we're doing, I think we've done a lot. And I think you talk about space allocation, that's your long-range planning. You talk about the Mountain View project. The Mountain View project was talked about in long-range planning for over a year. There were community meetings about it. There was an ad hoc committee about it. So again, it's looking at what everybody wants and trying to get it to fit multiple points. I'm not finished, please. So that's one part. Another thing I'd like to talk about is the efficiency of the management of this corporation. Unbelievable. I have worked my entire, oh, you can roll your eyes all you want.
I didn't roll my eyes.
Here's the deal. I've been here for a long time. I've been here over 10 years. We don't raise our rates every year, although I think at times we probably should have done that, but we didn't. And I am amazed when you look, and I'm sorry, I'm going to call you out, General Manager Cook. He came into this job with a lot of things that maybe got kicked down the road. Okay, the lake, that should have been handled years ago. Our IT system. Everything I'm telling you right now costs money. It's things that should have gotten done that didn't get done. But not only does he address those things, but he also came forward with key performance indicators for his staff. He has pulled together a very good staff that is saving us money by bringing forward things like preventative maintenance programs, which we didn't have before. You know, cutting our time of hiring new people, filling positions, trying to limit how many people leave and have to be refilled. Cha-chink, 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 right down the line. We've got Kevin McCurdy is worked to get us donations that go into our coffers. These people go above and beyond what their job, please, you asked me about how we're saving money. I think you owe these people a round of applause. They do so much for so little. And when you put something off for 10 years or whatever, and now you've got to pay the piper, and we try to raise the rates so that we're not, you know, one lady says, well, don't let the tennis courts go down at Bell like they did at Lakeview. That's right, but that all costs money. Yeah. So when I hear the vintage vehicles want to come up and they want this and they want that and this one wants this.
Sure, and that's where you see.
And that's where it all comes.
Prioritize.
But when you look at the changes that we've made in performance of our management staff has done is phenomenal.
And they don't do it for nothing. They're paid staff.
I understand that. I understand that, but they don't have to. They don't have to work so short. They don't have to work so hard.
I'm sorry, our purpose is not to discuss what happened and where we went. Can we pick it up and look toward the future? If we're going to spend the time talking about what we shoulda, coulda, woulda.
I'm not talking about what we shoulda, coulda, woulda. What I'm talking about is answering the multiple questions that this lady brought up and the insinuation that it was not, and we're not in Robert's Rules of Order.
Let's kill the discussion.
I didn't insinuate anything. I just said I wanted to understand where the cost.
I would love to sit and talk to you.
Yeah.
Show you
Let's
data.
do it outside of this meeting.
President Okowski,
yes.
President Okowski, if I could, since
yes, Bill.
If I could address, since these were really items that were addressed to my staff, I'd like to just address some of the things that we are doing.
Okay, General Manager, we'll give you 5 minutes?
I don't need 5 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, no. So with respect to cost spending, and Director Lair, thank you for stealing my thunder. I appreciate the kind words, but that is one of the things that I've done is implemented key performance indicators, and one of those is cost savings across the board for everybody on my staff. So this year, that KPI garnered about $386,000 in savings. So I push back on my staff to make sure that they are constantly looking at cost savings, and that's through negotiations with vendors, that's through we actually pre-purchased some fertilizer last year. So Director Duthu came through and said we can pre-purchase and save 10 to 15%. So all of that has resulted in us saving about $386,000, which is not a small amount. With respect to looking at total benefits, when I started here, we did take a look at that, and across the board, whether it was a 401k match, whether it was vacation vesting, whether it was total pay, we did look at that, and across the board, we are below the market. Okay, and we did do an outside. We looked at an outside agency to take a look at pay, and we also look at our communities that are in the valley as well. And across the board, we are below when it comes to pay. So we have made some changes to vacation vesting, so we're getting more vacation earlier. Our 401k match, we've increased from 500 to 1,000. So 500 when I started here, we went to 750 to 1,000. We're still not at the top when it comes to 401k match. When it comes to performance objectives, we actually, I've always had performance objectives for my staff. Now we have we've implemented it across the entire organization, so now everybody will have their performance reviewed on an annual basis. We have a form that everybody will complete, and so we do have a merit pool of 3%, and so my expectation is not everybody's going to get 3%. Some will get 1, 2, and some will get 4 and 5, and it's all going to be based on performance. So we're trying to make changes to reflect, a better way of making sure that we're spending our money correctly. Thank you, President Okowski.
Thank you.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Yeah,
Director Fimmel?
If I could for just 1 second, since we opened the door here and the lady did ask, I think one of the problems is because we have kept the pay, or the pay continues to be less than others, that what has happened is that as the across-the-board raises that have to be implemented, these mandates, what's happened is new employees are literally making as much or more than employees who have been here for many years. And so I think one of the things we have to consider is, in fairness to them, that they may need a little more financing. And I think that's why the question that she asked, I think that's why that occurred.
If I could add one more comment to that. It has to be a board decision on whether we are a training ground of employees or a group that wants to keep employees here for the duration. That is unfortunately, that's not, in my opinion, it's not a management decision. That is a board decision, and that's something that we have to look at and make that determination. Many organizations become training grounds because they feel it's cheaper to turn around and train an employee and have them leave within 2 years than to have longevity with those employees. That is a policy or a management decision from the board that has to be directed through. And I hope we can work on that. Thank you.
My name's Milt Lebsack, 130662. I will make my comments much less than 3 minutes. I want to speak to 2 issues, the Mountain View project and pickleball. I think my views are well known as far as elimination of a gym at Mountain View, which would save a lot of money and is an unnecessary expense. It's evident to me, my wife and I are Phase 1 owners. We use the Mountain View facilities regularly. It's quite apparent that the mini golf course is going to go. It's already virtually unusable. The spa has already been closed. The fitness center and the locker rooms will undoubtedly be renovated. The auditorium will be converted to a performing arts center. But as far as the cost savings, the gym should definitely be eliminated. I've stated this over and over again. As far as the pickleball is concerned, it makes eminent sense to me from a short-term and possibly even a long-term perspective to keep the pickleball courts at Mountain View. I've heard when I hear the comments from the tennis club about noise. Noise is not a problem at the Mountain View courts. They're heavily utilized virtually every morning. You have pickleball courts at both ends, at Marinette and at Mountain View, which works quite well. It certainly can be modified and improved, but there's absolutely no reason in the world that they should be demolished and build new ones to take out tennis courts at Lakeview. There may be a need for additional pickleball courts, but there's no reason in the world to destroy a facility that's actively used, that doesn't cause neighborhood problems. It just makes eminent sense to me. Leave the pickleball courts there, eliminate the gym. I'd like to see the Mountain View project go forth as soon as possible, and I'd like to see a design as soon as it's available. I'd appreciate any comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Mr. President, my understanding is that the so-called gym, although it will have that facility available in it, is a multi-purpose thing and will be used for more than just a gym. Mr. Cook, am I mistaken?
Director Linevsky, so what's going to take place is as we develop the plan and strategy around all of the facilities is we will get input from the community to understand what the demands are. We know that Sundial, you heard today, we can't schedule meetings here because this facility here is overutilized. I would think that a facility down in Mountain View would be, a great offset to the utilization that we have at Sundial. However, that's not my decision to make. It's the community's decision. So if there's other things like volleyball or badminton or dance clubs or things like that that the community wants, then that's something that I think we would do. And to mirror what you said, I do believe it would be a multi-purpose facility.
Okay, in the few seconds remaining to me, I'd like to have everybody fill out your survey, and I hope some of you agree with me that an indoor gym for basketball and volleyball is a ridiculous idea, and you should keep the pickleball courts at Mountain View. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Director Taunton.
Thank you. Mr. Cook, has the plan gone forward to the company asking for a multi-purpose room?
No, it has not. We actually just signed our construction manager on in late December. So we will, and as you'll see in my presentation, that the next steps are to do a kickoff meeting with the architecture firm as well as the construction firm to put the plan in place. Then we would go out and meet with all of the groups that would potentially use that facility and get feedback from that. And then we would get the vendor, whoever is chosen, to design whatever comes out of those meetings. That's how I envision it.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. President?
Go ahead.
So you're saying that the architect engineer has not begun the drawing process?
Mike, do you want to?
They're well under the design process. What Bill's talking about is finalization kind of the gymnasium area, What could it be? What does it need? Storage, volleyball nets. If you go back to the original direction from the board in 2020, it directed primarily for basketball and retractable hoops, that kind of thing. So we're still driving along to that goal. There's also going to be a fitness center, as you recall. Fitness center and locker rooms. So the specifics of that building are still to be unveiled, but they're well underway as far as designing the building, where it's located. You guys have all seen the 3D models that they've been presented. That's what's being drawn. CCBG, our architect, has been under contract since last summer. I'm getting the bills every month. They're working. It's a process of schematic design leading up to construction documents and through the county. We're meeting with the county. So the process is moving, but the design of the entire phase 1 and phase 2 is going to take all of 2023 into 2024, and this is just for the design process.
Mr. President, I just heard something of interest to me. There's a 3D design of the concept to Mountain View, and in the last board meeting, I asked about the concept view of Mountain View, and I was told that a concept drawing was available. I'm still waiting to see the concept drawing that's available, and I'd love to see these 3D renderings of the Mountain View concept 2 process.
Go ahead, Director Taunton.
Thank you. I know I'm new and I'm not supposed to ask a lot of questions. I'm supposed to listen. And maybe this isn't the correct venue to ask, but I guess General Manager Cook and Mr. Whitbread, I don't understand what takes so long.
Well, if you look at the scope of all of the projects that we are involved with, not to mention the out-of-budget scope that have been placed upon us in 2022, like, for example, the Best Friends Dog Club, like, for example, the Lakeview pickleball courts. A lot of these things were not in our scope, and it takes away from what we're trying to do. However, these are large scope projects. The lake is an $8 million project, so we're replacing that. We have Mountain View, which we had a 90-day moratorium at the beginning of 2022. So that put us back 90 days. So getting a contractor in place was a large process that included both management and the board. That is not something that we wanted to take lightly. So we wanted to make sure we did that correctly by putting together a good RFP and then interviewing, multiple contractors to ensure that we got somebody that we all felt comfortable with. So you can't just look at one project and say, why is this taking so long? We have, at any given time, 8 or 10 large projects going on. Not to mention, we have, in 2022, we had over 3,000 work orders put in to repair lights, to replace filters, to do all of the maintenance that's associated with making sure that we keep our facilities top-notch. So I think it's unfair to ask why is it taking so long when we have a lot of things that are going on, and I think we're doing them very well. So,
thank you.
Good morning, Sherry Guida, 151324. I have 2 things. One, great presentation last year by the IT manager regarding the devastating situation with technology. I would like to see that manager return and give us a detailed update. I was seeing something online recently about, why aren't there security cameras? I'm like, well, the infrastructure was there, blah, blah, blah. Please come to the meeting and find out. Second, I want to congratulate those who were elected. How many card members do we have in Sun City, General Cook, Manager Cook?
So we have roughly 36,000 members, and then we have roughly 3,000 privileged cardholders.
Okay.
So 39,000 roughly.
Each person who was elected got less than 2,000 votes. So when I hear people get up and say we want a quorum of 500, that is disturbing. When President Nowakowski says, I want to be transparent, and says, Robert rules don't matter, we're going to do it the way we want to do it, that's disturbing. That's anarchy to me. And when he then says executive privilege to a member who's speaking, that's disturbing. I'd like to see that bylaws revision revisited in total. I think that committee did a great job. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is my second time speaking in the 10 years that I've been a full-time resident here. The first one didn't go as well as planned, but it wasn't planned. The second one, I'm going scripted. So, Jeff Lair, 45572. I would like to give my opinions and express some alleged voter issues which occurred on Election Day for our Board of Directors. I believe Sun City's residents need to be made aware of these possible infractions. I will not name any names. Incident number 1, a voter allegedly approaches an election committee person and asks, now who are we supposed to vote for? The immediate response was the 3 candidates' full names. This committee person was immediately confronted by the committee chair, and after admitting his guilt, was told to leave the building. The election committee exists to ensure a fair election, not corrupt it. Incident number 2, after discussing incident number 1 with the other on-site committee members, one of the other workers claimed that earlier in the day, that same dismissed worker had observed handing slips of paper to voters prior to entering the voter booth. Really? Incident number 3. It's also been alleged that a person who was on the ballot was actively campaigning on the property where the vote was taking place. If true, I believe that may be a violation of state law. You know, Americans fight and die for the right of people to enjoy the same freedoms we enjoy here. During World War II, over 400,000 Americans died fighting fascism. We wanted capitalism, democracy, and a free and fair election. In Korea, nearly 40,000 gave their lives for the same goals against communism. And over 58,000 died for the same reason in Vietnam. I'm a combat Vietnam veteran. And during my tour, I lost 2 very good friends fighting for, you know, what we want in free and fair elections. If this is Sun City's form of a fair election, I regret volunteering for military service in 1969. We need an investigation to look into these allegations. Since Sun City is a corporation, I would recommend that the corporate attorney get involved in this. In my opinion, there are a couple of members of the board that I can't trust to do a free and fair investigation. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for your service.
Yes.
Vicki Miller, 104197, and a lot more on the lighter side. My issue is it's not really an issue. It's a concern, and I actually might even have a solution. My concern is that, yes, we have some ice machines in Fairway. They're in the kitchen area. We have an ice machine, I believe, in the social hall at Bill. We have no ice machines to deal with injuries. Just 2 weeks ago at Fairway, Ukulele Club, pretty mild, huh? Not too much injuries there. Well, no, not true. One of the members, he has an electric scooter, he backed into his wife falls down, and her wrist was totally in contortion. I ran downstairs to the desk to ask to get a bag of ice, and they looked at me with a, what? And I said, you gotta have some ice and an ice machine. Well, there's an ice machine down, in the Fairway 1, whatever, but we don't have bags. I said, you gotta have a bag. Well, she comes out with a cup and in a bag and says, will this work? I says, please take the cup out and just give me the bag. Ran upstairs, got her some ice. Okay, we have injuries on tennis courts. You've got, just whether there's you got racquetball there, you've got ping pong there, you've got the putt-putt golf there. But you know what? Like I said, it doesn't take to have to be moving around doing things to fall down and sprain an ankle, break a wrist or whatever. All I'm asking is that we have ice machines in some of these places. Please get bags at the desk so that people can help these people that are injured before 911 gets there, which we did call 911, but we wanted to do the ice first. So really kind of simple. Just please help out with the injuries and make it more accessible for the people to help people that might get injured. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Director Collins.
I heard the request for an ice machine a few months ago for the pickleball club. Did they ever get it? They were getting it in September and they haven't gotten it.
That's not true.
No, that's what was just said. That's why I'm asking.
Well, let me bring you up to speed where we're at on this. The pickleball club asked for an ice machine at Marinette, and they provided a model and a specification, and we looked at it, and it clearly says it needs to be in an indoor space, and it can't be operated over 100 degrees. So our position from maintenance is this is going to be a maintenance nightmare. These things are going to die, and we'd have to constantly keep replacing them. So we've sent it back through Chris Herring and back to Dan Haberman and the club saying, this is the situation with this ice machine. Are you guys willing to live with the long-term maintenance and care of this machine? Now, as far as I know, we haven't heard back on that issue, but if they agree to that, then we can move forward with finding a location and getting that ice machine installed.
Director Fast.
Have you considered having a cooler with a bag of ice at the facilities? So that you can have an interim solution without the ice machine?
Who are you asking? Chris. He's asking Chris.
Sorry, Director Fass, I wasn't sure who that was directed to. The club currently does that process when they have larger tournaments. They have the ice in a cooler available for play. From an efficiency standpoint, it seems difficult to have a bag of ice in a cooler that you're trying to refresh every day. I think the idea from the pickleball courts is to get the agreement on who's going to maintain that device and take responsibility for it, and then move forward.
I have a follow-up question. You said you would put this outside if the clubs were going to maintain it?
Director Collins, Board of Directors, we do not have a space available inside of the building that we can place that ice machine.
That's fine.
And the club proposed a location. We countered with a location within the pavilion that is close to water, to electricity for cooling it, and for a drain for the item. While it's in the pavilion, it is still subject to ambient temperatures that are above the rated specifications for the unit. And so In all likelihood, it will probably perform okay. The concern is that it may require additional maintenance over time and component failures, and we push that back to the club to not only they proposing the purchase and then also to maintain it. One of the things to point out for the pickleball club is they have been very good of being a partner with RCSC with respect to funding improvements to their facilities as they have income from tournaments. And so this is one of the things that they have requested to partner with to provide an ice machine at the courts.
Well, the reason I bring that up is because a few months ago, other clubs that also have equipment outside asked for enclosures on them to protect them for longevity, and those clubs also already buy this equipment and then donate it to the RCSC, and they spend thousands and thousands of dollars. So that's my question. Will you enclose them? And then I'm sure if you enclose them, they will be gladly do the maintenance on them.
Mr. President. Go ahead. With all due respect to everyone, this seems to be something that's got to be worked out in private. And I would, if everyone's in agreement, I would suggest we move on and have that worked out in meetings with the staff, because I don't know anything about this. They do.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's fine.
Okay. Next.
Good morning. Congratulations to the newly elected members. Welcome to the deep end of the pool. Dave Whelan, 17077. Mine's kind of short. I've already talked to Director Fast and Director Lineski regarding financial statements. I think we should have an ad hoc committee from the Budget and Finance to work on simplifying our financial statements, especially the monthly ones, so people actually know what they're looking at. Mr. Fast and myself and several other members are experts or very well qualified to read these. I think our statement should be presented as such that even a person who doesn't know financial analysis or anything can look at it and understand what they're saying. That's it.
I agree.
Discuss it amongst yourself. Thank you.
Bring it forth.
Thank you. Whoa, I'm sorry.
Bring it forth. Bring it forth.
Got it.
Linda Skaggs, 147-048. And I am just going to talk about the ice machine, because last we heard it was going to be installed inside the pavilion, taking right near the water fountain area. It is a water fountain / ice machine, and we did offer to pay for it. I put the proposal package together. It's exactly what Sun City Grand has, 3 or 4 of them outside, and they've been out there for years. So I think it will work inside better, but it still will work outside as well. And that's the last we heard, that it was going to be installed inside the pavilion.
Linda, directors, based upon the comments from the directors, we can take this offline.
Okay, I just wanted to say that because, I heard other things, so.
Yep. Thank you.
Mike Wendell, 145206. Real simple. When they started the discussion on ice, it was regarding an injury. And all of a sudden, it's buckets of ice or coolers with ice. It's ice machines, everything else. There's chemical ice packs. You don't need special storage for it. You just need to provide access to them in appropriate places if it comes down to injuries, that you have something that can easily be placed in the necessary areas. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill Pearson, 133438. I apologize if you answered this question. I had stepped out for a minute to talk to somebody. Can I get an update on what's happening with the posse? The shows are going to be starting here shortly down at Sun Bowl again, and it's important that we have the posse there, so thank you.
Director Collins.
Thank you for that. We had a meeting last week when the show meeting was going on, so I didn't get down there to speak to the new commander. I will be going down this week to speak to the new commander, and also going down to see General Manager Cook to see if we can get together and straighten things out. Thank you.
President Nowakowski?
Yes.
So I've taken the initiative with the new commander. I emailed her last week. I shouldn't say last week, last month. So after she was elected, we've emailed back and forth, and I've suggested that we restart our quarterly meetings between our organizations and MCSO. But then I also suggested that she and I meet to make sure that we define the relationship going forward, and she is very much in agreement with that, and had asked that I wait until the dust settle in terms of her getting, into her elected position, and that she would come back to me with a time in which we could meet.
Tracy Busselbarger, 116319. I was just going to say welcome to everybody. I appreciate being asked to do the timer again. It's sort of fun, and I get to learn a lot. I wish more people in Sun City would come to the meetings, especially the members exchange, so that they can get some knowledge and such. Also come to the board meetings so that you know what the board is up doing and what Sun City is happening in here. One thing I want to say is I want to thank Chris very much for all he does for the dog park. We're talking about Duffyland Dog Park. We're trying to rebuild the club and do some things, but I want to let you know that in 3 years we hadn't gotten anything new in there, but we did purchase 5 chairs and 2 tables that are uniform with the ones that we have bought before. And people are being told, which is true, that anything brought into any club is RCSC property and it stays there. So they are aware of that. So again, I want to thank everybody, and I want people to come and get educated. I know that they watch it, so that's good. But if you want to ask questions and learn, be educated, come to the meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. We have, come on up.
Good morning. Pam Spinella, 142721. I want to say, first of all, thank you to former Vice President Eggy, Treasurer Akins, and former President Sue Wilson. And I want to say thank you to John Fast. I'm so relieved that you know so much about finances. And welcome again to Mr. VP Collins. And welcome to Secretary Jean Totten. I'm sure you'll do an excellent job. My thing is water, 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 water. The ADWR. I'd like for you all to cooperate with the water situation, give them what they want. Let's stay on their good side. The candidate that did not win, former Director Walzak, he knows a lot about this. So I would love it if you'd use him as a consultant for this situation. He also knows the SHOA and the COA, and I'd like to see SHOA and RCSC work really close because of the age. This is a mess. And the crime, it's getting better. It is getting better. We're lucky to have the commander at 3. Finances. Somebody on the board or in management give everyone, regardless of who they are and how much they know, a class together so they can learn together and they can ask questions, and the newer members can learn from the older members. Okay, fund the reserves, please. Please. I can tell you from serving on a prior board the horrible things that can happen when reserves are low and a disaster or 2 strikes, but I will spare you. Mountain View, I'd love to see you move forward on this. I'm not sure about the pickleball courts. I think it's what's under the pickleball courts that might be a big surprise that has to be fixed. And maybe that's why, because that's old, what, 1967, 1968 construction? So they may have to go, unfortunately. Golf, we need the money from golf, we need the revenue, but we need to be having an equitable system so everybody gets fair shot at the times. Let me see here. Pickleball, Lakeview, I'm fine with it. I'm a birder. I bird by ear. I don't have a problem with the click, 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 click. I can tune it out, and I do, because I go up to Peoria where there's pickleball courts, and I tune it out. And that's about it. I just like to be kept more in the loop. And I wish you all so much. Yes?
To your point about the class for finance, the first draft is now going to be distributed to the Finance Committee with the goal of having it so that anyone can read it and understand our finances.
I love it. And thank you, Dave Whelan, for this, because I know he's involved in it. Thanks, everybody, for the bylaws. Even though they didn't go through, your work was appreciated. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Nobody else? Director Cook, the floor is yours.
So I guess this is the first that I've heard that, this is taking up too much time. The reason why I'm doing this is because it was brought up at a prior meeting, and then the board, I think, supported that. I'm good with not presenting this on a monthly basis. Can we, I don't know, do we want to poll the membership to see if this is something that's necessary? I certainly don't want to detract from this meeting, so.
The other thought I had is maybe doing a shorter presentation at our business meeting. We've lost about 2/3 of our audience.
Right.
Going through a poll right now would be kind of,
Well, yeah.
Anticlimactic. Well, let's do this. Out of the board, the people that are here remaining, how many would like to see the presentation of
the GM Rec Center update?
The GM Rec Center update,
formerly known as the
Mr. President.
Yeah. Okay, hang on.
State of the Union.
How many are not interested in seeing it? So the show seems to be.
It is online, that is correct.
The show of hands seems to be in favor of. So after we get the director comments, we'll proceed. Director Linevsky.
Mr. President, my memory is very clear on why this is taking place. All last year and the year before, the board was blasted for transparency and not having transparency. This was the answer. This is one of the answers to it. Well, I'm making a comment, although it's different, on a different topic. Having been on the bylaws committee, I believe, and I would have the board check this, that a year and a half ago, there was a motion to make the Roberts Rules of Order as a may. There was complete outrage. I was at that meeting, although I was not on the board. And so I believe that the bylaws now say that the board shall follow Robert's Rules of Order. I'm not necessarily in favor of that as a matter of policy, but we might, if we want to get rid of the Robert's Rules of Order, have to bring a bylaw motion.
I don't know if anyone said that we should get rid of Robert's Rules of Orders. I must have missed that today. No, I said that if we need Robert's Rules of Order to conduct a meeting, we have more issues than that. I did not say we should get rid of Robert's Rules of Order. If we're going to get rid of Robert's Rules of Order was written at the time when duels were the answer to meetings, and they were done by gentlemen. Ladies were not involved at that time because they didn't have any authority to be involved in meetings. So if we're going to have some other process, I'm open to suggestions. My comment is, I don't think we need Robert's Rules of Order to conduct a meeting. If we have to have something that's critical, then we can have a Very simple. My thought would be, okay, let's postpone it till the next meeting until we can get clarification. If the board wants to postpone everything in time instead of working together to get a resolution to the issue, I'm only one of 9. That's my thought on the process.
Mr. President?
Yes.
And what you have just suggested is in fact consistent with Robert's Rules of Order, which is why I took a moment to make the clarification, because you did say something that might have led people to believe that you are not going to implement a parliamentary procedure, when I know full well that you do have respect for Robert's Rules of Order, and you do intend to follow Robert's Rules of Order, because no one's changed that. And no one here today has suggested that we do anything other than follow Robert's Rules of Order. So I hope at this point we're clear that this board currently follows Robert's Rules of Order.
And we will continue to do so.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Jean, Director Taunton.
Jean is fine. This presentation that we have, you mentioned Mr. Cook is online.
It is online, yes.
Okay. And is the budget online?
The budget, have we put the budget on? It's online, yes.
The budget is available online?
That's correct.
Where would someone find that? Because I had trouble.
Under the finance page,
And?
quick summary that shows the quick summary of the budget.
No, I don't want a summary of the budget. I wanted the budget. Aren't members allowed to see the budget?
That's all I've gotten.
So you, as a member, you certainly can have a copy of the budget if you'd like a copy of the budget.
But it's not online.
No, we do a summary of the budget online.
Well, okay. Thank you.
Mr. President?
Yes.
This was just discussed. This was written for the purposes of transparency. It's a good document. But what I question is if this meeting, which is the members' meeting, is the appropriate place for this document. I think this document should be provided to the members, and it probably should be provided during the regularly scheduled board meeting.
Any other comments? Back to the consensus. General Manager, can you shorten it up to 5 minutes or 8 minutes?
We'll see what I can do.
Okay.
Mr. President, I clearly wasn't clear. I guess my recommendation is that this very good document be presented by the general manager at the board meeting.
Okay.
Does that require, I don't know if that requires...
Yeah, let's do a consensus out of the board members. Consensus of having the document presented today or being presented at our regular business meeting. Consensus of the board? Show of hands.
Regular business meeting?
Regular business meeting. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Members?
Members? Well, the members went the other way. But General Manager Cook, any problem with making this an item, first item of business at the January meeting?
No issues.
Okay. Okay, announcements. First one is Sun City Community Access Network will be doing their food drive this coming weekend, Friday and Saturday and Sunday, for anyone that's in the neighborhood. Mainly their board of directors is doing it, but if you need more information, please see me after the meeting. Any other comments from board members? Hearing none, the next meeting of the Board of Directors will be on January 26, 2023 at 9 a.m. in the Sundial Auditorium. The next member board exchange will be February 13th at 9 a.m. There was no other business, no other comments?
Tell them to take some cake home.
Take some cake home, because Director Collins was kind enough to get lots, And so if you need a little more sugar high, you know, sugar is a food group, and we need to get rid of it. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much for being here and staying through us.
Thank you.
Now we got another one at 1. We haven't won it.
This is a copyrighted production of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated and is intended for the sole purpose of informing our Recreation Center members. Any duplication, copying, transmission, broadcast, or use, including electronic and social media, is strictly prohibited without the prior written consent from the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated. Thank you for watching.